So one of the things I find most difficult and frustrating about running a business in today's internet world is this idea of having these coordinated campaigns across multiple channels and multiple platforms, and the degree to sophistication which you need to run each campaign across each platform. For example, with Facebook and Google, it's not so much just putting up a couple keywords and hoping everything works, or Facebook putting up a couple ads and hoping it works. You really have to delve in and get super detailed. I understand, Joe, that you talked to somebody today that's doing this for a living. They started a company. Not only have they just started and are doing well, but they're ranked really high in the Inc. 500 list, specializing in running these cross-platform campaigns that are really highly refined.
Yeah, it's Patrick McKenna from Strike Social. And about 5 years ago, he bootstrapped a company. He was literally working from the kitchen table in a rented house in Los Angeles. And he developed software that would analyze paid advertising campaigns and then go way beyond what you normally do in an Excel file and so on and so forth. Standard stuff, right? Well, that's what I thought when he was introduced to me by our very own Jason Yelowitz, their neighbors. Patrick's company, Strike Social, in 2016 was ranked number 17 on the Inc. 500 list. And I think you and I have talked about this. That's impressive. Number 17 on the Inc. 500 list. You don't get there by accident. You don't get there without being really, really good at what you do. Over the years, the last 6 years that I've been doing what I do, I've talked to dozens and dozens, and I might want to say hundreds at one point, of people that started their own Google ad account and developed it as their business grew and managed it themselves, and then got to a point where they said, you know what, I should outsource this. And they found somebody online and they outsourced it, and what happened? It failed. The cost per acquisition went up, the budget went up, and they had to bring it back in-house. Dozens of times I talked to these folks. So when I first connected with Patrick, I was skeptical. But then we talked, went into detail, and he gave me some success stories that are really, truly just incredible, Mark, to the point where I need you to listen to this podcast and consider talking with him about the quiet light advertising. They do testing for free. They'll do an analysis with their software. And they'll do a test for free as well. And then they prove themselves. And then like every other agency, they get paid on a percentage of spend. But here's the kicker. They've taken some clients and grown their businesses so dramatically that clients run out of inventory. Now, that's the number one thing we tell folks is don't run out of inventory, right? It seems so simple, but when people bootstrap the company and they grow, they don't have enough working capital. And I've listened to other, podcasts, the Ecom Crew, Mike Jackness podcast, where they talk about trying to find sources of working capital for inventory. Well, Strike Social will be that source for their very own clients because they've run into it so many times where it was so successful, the client ran out of funds to buy more inventory. So they became that working capital source. So really impressive story. I would encourage everyone to listen all the way through to the 31-minute mark where he starts to talk about the working capital aspect of it. But there's a lot of good stuff here. He talks about some basic things that everyone should do. Quick story, and then I'll stop talking. But when I ran my own Google AdWords campaign, for the company that you brokered for me back in 2010. The most I ever spent was $45,000 in 1 month on paid advertising. And I worked my way up from that in 2005 to 2010. Of course, after the crash, it was much lower. But at the max, at the peak, I had a total of 10 campaigns set up in Google AdWords. And I had it all done with my keywords, and I used all the software at the time to find those keywords and develop them. 10 campaigns. So in talking with Patrick, he talks about that their clients have an average of 1,000 to 6,000 campaigns. And that's for one product, Mark. And that just makes me think about, yet again, how much money I lost in two ways, really, on wasted advertising spending and on not making it so good that my cost per acquisition came down dramatically. And I just want to encourage everyone that's listening to think about it and listen to what they're saying and have a conversation with them, because odds are you're not doing it as well as you could be if you're doing it yourself. Just like what we talk about with bookkeeping, Excel is not accounting software. The basic pieces that you pull together for managing your campaigns across multiple platforms is not as good as what these guys have either. And it's worth a listen to and worth a test, I think, in my opinion and experience.
Yeah, I really have to agree with the fact that if you're doing it in-house, and look, I'm running some campaigns in-house right now for both companies that I own for a variety of reasons. But you have to understand, if you're going to run it in-house, if you're not going to have a specialist, chances are you're not going to be doing it as well as it could be done, because AdWords is an environment that really takes specialization. Facebook is an environment that really takes specialization. Frankly, setting up a good automation sequence falls in the same category as well. So I'll be interested to listen to this. I definitely will be listening to this. I'm always looking to pick up on some information.
Yeah. And look, Instagram is also in there as well. It's something he talked about. When AdWords was that was the player. Facebook came along and started to become the second option. Well, Instagram is now that option to Facebook, and it's really starting to work. So those that have not expanded to those channels, listen, take a look, learn. And the other thing, look, this wasn't a pitch for this guy's services. This was helping people understand what they may or may not be doing right or wrong in their campaigns. And he talks about 3 things that you can do and focus on. And at the end, Mark, I didn't ask him for contact information at all. It's in the show notes, of course, but for those that only listen, the company is Strike Social. It's strikesocial.com. And you can email them at hello@strikesocial.com. That's hello@strikesocial.com. It's we didn't talk about it at the end, so I want to throw it in now.
Awesome. Well, let's get to it.
Hey folks, it's Joe Valley at Quiet Light Brokerage, and today I've got Patrick McKenna with us from Strike Social. How are you, Patrick?
I'm good. How are you, Joe?
I'm fantastic. Folks, anybody that knows Jason Yelowitz here at Quiet Light, you should. He's been around for, I think, longer than everybody except for Mark Dowse, the founder of Quiet Light. Jason was my broker when I sold back in 2010, and he happens to live across the street from you, right?
That's right. We live in Reno. He's right across the street. His kids are always running in my house.
Jason's a good man, and I wouldn't mind having him as a neighbor. I often poke fun at Jason and his bathrobe millionaire book, but it's a heck of a success story, and I still don't have a piece of the bathrobe. Have you ever seen it laying around his house? Did he save it? Is it seriously? Is it like behind like a glass case hanging on the wall?
It's on the mantle, sitting up there. He's very proud of that.
Next time you're in, I want you to take a selfie in front of it and send it to me, okay?
I will. Yeah.
Anyway, look, in all seriousness, Jason is top-notch. He's my mentor. He's mentor to many. He's a terrific guy. And he introduced you to us. And as I mentioned before we started recording, we do not do fancy introductions here at Quiet Light on the Quiet Light podcast. So I know it's going to be hard for you, but I want you to brag about yourself a little bit because you have a heck of a success story. Tell us about Strike Social and what you do and what the background is and all that good stuff for us.
Sure. Yeah, we, Jason and I are sort of kindred spirits. We've been through the battle. It sounds like you have too. Owning a business is incredibly challenging. We did it like anyone else does it. You take the plunge. You bootstrap on a kitchen table at our rental house in LA, and we started that process in March of 2013, and then we launched some technology we got recognized in TechCrunch for this advertising technology, this analytics platform. And by November, after that article came out, we were selling like crazy, and that posed some different challenges. You think initially, oh wow, this is great, my product's great and the market loves it, and then you start to realize that you're putting yourself out of business because you're trying to fund invoices and all of those types of things that come up when you're running a business. So we went through all that stuff, raised a little money in 2014, raised a little bit more in 2015, and expanded globally. And by 2016, we were recognized in Forbes Fast 500 fastest growing companies in the U.S.
What number were you?
Number 17.
17 out of 500.
17, yeah.
That's incredible.
So pretty amazing. That was off 2016 revenue numbers, and we're excited to see where we land this year for 20. It'll be the 2018 release, but it'll be 2017 numbers. So
Gotcha.
Exciting stuff.
It sounds exciting and painful all at the same time. You literally started on a kitchen table at a rental in LA, and then grew the business, bootstrapped it from there. Probably like many of the listeners, or the listeners that are sellers and entrepreneurs, and the listeners that are hoping to step into the entrepreneurial role that you're playing now. That's pretty incredible. Tell us about what Strike Social does and who your typical customers are.
Right. So initially, we went out to the largest agencies in the world, and we sold execution services around advertising. So initially, we started with YouTube. Now we're across all the social platforms and search as well. But we would basically take on and execute the buys for their largest customers. So our customers would be, Xbox and P&G and, pick any Fortune, 100 brand, the big guys. And then we started doing that here in the US, then we went to Asia, then we went to Europe. And I don't know if you know who the holding companies are, but WPP, Omnicom, Publicis, the big guys that mostly don't talk to the smaller companies. So it was really nice to have that lane for us to go sell into, and it was a really profitable situation for us. And we kept building technology and investing in technology and people and locations. We have a location here in Chicago where we're headquartered. And then we have a location in Poland and a location in Manila. We've got about 100 people here now, and we've got boots on the ground from Japan and Korea and Australia, obviously the U.S., Singapore, Europe. So it's been a really fun ride, and yes, you go through all of the emotional ups and downs of running a business when you're running one. So
yeah. Good problems with that kind of growth. Really good problems. Talk to me about the technology that you developed that originally got you recognized in, I think you said TechCrunch, and you said the analytics platform. Can you talk about the actual service and why someone would use, why these B2B advertising agencies would use yours versus having an expert in-house do it? What does it do, and what's different about it that made you the 17th fastest growing company in 2016?
Yeah, I think when video first came out, I think it was really challenging for companies to understand, hey, this is kind of a new medium. How do I be successful here? So our analytics platform sort of showed them how to be successful. But what we did is we executed the media buys. So we look like, a typical agency. We don't really like that word because we built a software solution to help us with that. And then over time, what we've done is we built this incredible artificial intelligence box that allows us to go across platform, plan and execute strategies. And so it's a human and technology solution combined. And I talk about advertising now. It's a complicated orchestra. And what you need at the end of that is execution. So and we can talk about that more, but it's very challenging to stay up to date on these platforms, and you need a partner and a technology solution to really execute and do well.
Okay, and you started out with YouTube. So at that time, there were not a lot of
experts in the field of, buying advertising, buying that advertising space on YouTube.
That's right.
When Jason sold my business back in 2010, I was spending a boatload of money on Google AdWords.
Yep.
And I learned it from the ground up. I did it myself starting in 2005. And at one point, I never had any training. So I can't imagine how much money I wasted over the years. It was a point where I topped out at spending $45,000 a month. And Jason loves to tell the story how I got mad at American Express because I went above my average. So I cut my advertising in half, and it was the stupidest thing I ever done. But I did it because I got mad. But I blew a ton of money. I blew a ton of money by not being the expert.
Yeah.
So you guys learned that expertise in terms of buying ad space on YouTube. And then you expanded to the other social media platforms. So are you now doing paid ads on Google AdWords, on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, things of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. DBM, Amazon.
What would
all
DBM
the ones,
be? You got me right there.
Sorry. DoubleClick Bid Manager is Google's DSP solution to get the rest of the web that you can't do in AdWords.
And what's DSP stand for? I feel like an idiot. Go ahead.
Digital Supply Side Platform. So that's how Google goes and buys display advertising on, say, the Huffington Post or the New York Times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's another Google product. It's part of their Google suite. And actually, it's interesting that you bring that up. That they have a tagging solution there that and we find this a lot in companies that are running small businesses on just AdWords, that you can get really good multivariate testing on that platform. We built technology to allow you to expand that. I don't know how extensive you got with your your tests, but one campaign, maybe you have 40 different variables. Maybe you're really good and you get up to 100. We'll do like 6,000 with our technology.
Wow.
So yeah, we're testing age, demo, interest, topic, keywords.
But let's get really
desktop,
specific.
mobile.
Let's get really down to it. People that are listening, their ears might be perking up, and this is why we're talking, because you don't get to be number 17 on the Forbes fastest growing companies by screwing up, because you wouldn't have the clients that would be referring and helping you grow your business further. So
that's right.
My initial thought, as I said on our first call, was, gee, more often than not, I do the valuations and exit planning for people and see that they were doing fine on their own advertising, managing it themselves, and then outsourced it, and it totally blew it up, as in bad, and their cost per acquisition went up. And usually, in my experience, it's not a great thing. Your success in having people use your services changes my mind. So let's talk about specifically, we've got folks that are, let's say they're physical product owners. And of course, there's content as well, but I think you said you don't really do a whole lot of content stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, but let's say we've got physical product owners that are mostly, because of the crazy growth on Amazon, doing Amazon sponsored ads. Our advice is always go well beyond Amazon, grow your business so it's not a one revenue channel. Your value is going to be higher, but they are challenged with how to do that. So do you do an analysis on a business and you're looking at Facebook advertising for that physical products? Do you take over the Amazon sponsored ads? Do you do Instagram, all of these things?
Yes, all of them. And you know what, before we start with any business, we start with an audit to get to a genuine conversation. It's like, okay, here are the platforms you're on. Tell us about your objectives. Let's pull your data into a dashboard that you'll own and take possession of. And we'll show you where we see some quick wins and easy gaps. And then we'll go if you like what we're saying, we'll go run a test for free to see if we can improve what you're doing.
How much is the cost of the audit that you do?
It doesn't cost anything.
Okay, the audit's free.
The audit's free.
The test is free.
The test is free. That's right. And we just rolled out this. The reason I'm talking to you and I was talking to Jason about this is, we just rolled out this Strike Marketing partnership. We have, very large e-commerce company under our belt right now. And, we are able to take that business and improve their cost per lead from $80 to $16 and really grow their business. They were able to.
Were they profitable at $80?
Yes. Yeah, they were.
Okay.
Dramatically improved their numbers. And, now they're on a path to being a $1 billion company. So,
you took it from $80 cost per lead. Was it cost per lead or cost per acquisition or well, I guess it doesn't matter, but you took it from 80 to 16, and then were they able to use the same budget or, increase their advertising?
They were able to increase it. Yeah. So that's the key, and I think the one point I want to make, Joe, is that, we are entrepreneurs here and we're in the advertising marketing space. And, like one of the guys that's on our staff started Panatia. And so he started the matcha movement, sold it to a very large Japanese company. He doesn't need to work, but he's passionate about entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship, and he's an expert at building that brand. And when you said content, content is critical when you start talking about AdWords and multivariate testing. You can't apply that same learning over to Facebook. It's a completely different platform. Everything is grouped together. You have to be a little bit patient, let Facebook find that first customer for you, and then it starts to learn who your customer is, and it's off to the races. But if you don't open up that platform, and if you're doing it the same way you're doing it on AdWords, whether it's YouTube or just AdWords itself, you're not going to perform there. You're not doing it right. So
okay.
that's
what about the Amazon seller account? You guys handle the sponsored ads as well?
That's right. Yeah, we have a seat on Amazon. So we have a partnership with them. A seat means that we have a seat. Yeah, sorry.
You knew I was going to ask that. You saw
that.
I
can see it on your face.
What's a seat? Okay.
A seat. That means that we're in their partner program, and we can log into their technology and buy inventory at scale.
Sure.
So yeah, and that means we also have a rep. That's the other thing too, is these platforms change all the time. And I don't know, the recent one with GDPR has made it more GDPR. Oh,
come on now, GDPR. What's that? This is going to be the acronym show. What is?
Yeah, the acronym. I'm sorry. Yeah, I spend a lot of time in advertising, so these are all things. GDPR is it's a European Union situation where the user is in control of their own data. And
okay.
The platforms, you have to basically ask permission, or I think you're probably seeing it on sites you go to now. They're saying, hey, to view my content, you need to accept my cookie.
Yeah.
If you're in someone's database right now and you have European client in your database, you needed to email them and say, hey, by the way, I need you to okay the fact that you're in my database. And
okay.
if you don't do that, you can get fined significantly.
Wow.
So
most of our, the people that in the audience, people that are listening, I shouldn't say most. I mean, it's anywhere from somebody doing 100,000 a year in revenue to 40 or 50 million in revenue.
Yeah.
So it's all over the map there a little bit. Let's give some stuff away for free here. I don't want this to be obviously you'll do the evaluation and you do the test for free, and then let me just let's answer the quick question, because people are going to say, well, what happens after that? Do you get paid on a commission basis, part of the advertising? How does it part of the advertising spend?
Yeah, I think that's why we fall in that advertising agency bucket, because we get a percentage of the media.
Okay. I did the same back in my media buying days when I used to buy time on radio. Percentage of what you're spending. And the better job you do on that cost per acquisition, the more you're able to spend, because the budget goes up. So it is the right
partnership
way to do it. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about that aside. Do you have any, sort of hot tips? What can someone do in just on their own, looking at their own advertising budget, in whatever platform you want to talk about?
Sure. Sure.
Give away some tips here. What can somebody do that's using? Let's start with Google AdWords. What's the biggest mistake people make, and how can they fix it?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest mistakes, and you can kind of take this across all platforms, is trying to figure out, the audience and the actual attribution, and then finding the adjacent audience, right? So, I'll give you an example, and artificial intelligence does this. The idea is that you need to expand your audience. So you find an audience that gives you a high lifetime value, and you've recognized that in keywords or interest in Google AdWords. For example, you might be targeting 18 to 54-year-olds in AdWords. You need to break each one of those segments up and realize that 18 to 24-year-olds aren't interested in the same thing as the 45 and through 54, right? So if you're targeting people who are interested in the NFL, the 18-year-olds that also have that same interest are interested in the UFC. And so you have to find those adjacent audiences to lower your cost of acquisition. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
you expand the reach of the audience size, and that's something our technology doesn't. I don't think people do that.
Okay, so it's finding other like audiences. I always hear something on the Facebook algorithm, and in the paid advertising part of that, similar audiences or look-alike audiences. Is that what you're talking about?
Kinda. On Facebook, it's different. So AdWords is a multivariate test platform. You're basically setting up, hopefully you're setting up somewhere between 10 and 150 different campaigns. We're going to set up about 1,000 to 6,000.
I think I had 5 or 6, and then I had multiple things underneath there.
Okay, that's a big.
So you're talking about 1,000 and 6,000 campaigns.
What was your target audience age range?
Probably women 25-54, but I honestly can't recall if I even narrowed it down that much. I don't want to talk about that because I lost a whole lot of money the more we talk about it.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Wasted money. But you're doing 1,000 campaigns inside of Google AdWords?
I mean, we can. Yeah. Absolutely.
For a typical person that's got 20 SKUs? Is that what?
That's the only way to get down. No. That's one product. That's the only way to get down to how am I going to expand this audience? What is this audience also interested in? So what you basically said, what you told the platform was, I want women 18 to 54. Is that what you said? 18 to 54.
25-54, but
25 to 54. 25 to 54. And you basically said they all have the same interests, and they don't.
No, they don't.
And they're not even on the same device. So you got to break it out by device, tablet, mobile, desktop, and you got to break it out by each age group. You got to break it out by each interest, and you got to break it out by each keyword. Because if you don't get that data in there, your science isn't going to tell you who your lifetime value is.
Okay, so someone doing this on their own in an Excel spreadsheet, think they're doing fairly well. Odds are that they could be doing a whole lot better, basically.
Yeah.
All right, another. Okay, so the tip there was I want to call it lookalike audiences, but it's not.
Just call it multivariate testing. In AdWords, you've got a multivariate test, and you've got to get as granular as possible to get the learnings out of that platform.
Multivariate testing. Okay.
Yes.
Second sort of tip, the next thing you sit down and tell somebody to look at.
So on Facebook, it's completely different. You have to bucket everyone together, and then as soon as Facebook finds you that acquisition, and that's obviously Facebook and Instagram, then it starts to learn, okay, now I know who you're looking for, and it starts to find all the people that look alike. That's where the look-alike part comes in. Facebook's algorithm's working in the background to figure that out. When you first start out, You might be looking at your returns and saying, oh my gosh, I'm doing way better on AdWords. You have to stick with it. And one of the things that we see as well is if you have a longer sign up or click to buy solution in your platform, what you'll see is people will start that buy on Facebook, and they'll get to your form and realize that they don't have enough time for this and they need to go sign up on the desktop. And they'll go to Google search, look up your brand, and you have to be able to dedupe that. And that's where that DCM code comes into play from DoubleClick.
Okay.
You can actually dedupe and see the assist from Facebook to AdWords, give the credit to Facebook. That was the person that's where they saw the ad. They're just going to the desktop to finish filling it out.
Okay. Okay.
That makes sense?
I did a valuation maybe 3 weeks ago for someone that, back in first quarter, they were just tremendous volume on in their business by Facebook advertising, and then an algorithm update hit in, I think it was April, might have been May, and they went from, let's say, $500,000 a month in revenue to $40,000 a month in revenue.
Yeah.
Incredibly painful.
They
They then jumped to Google AdWords and made adjustments on Facebook. But that type of algorithm update, how does your agency, I know you don't want to call it an agency, how does your service address that, fix that, take care of that, and make sure that your clients are not going to be suffering from that major algorithm update that Facebook seems to be doing on a regular basis?
Yeah, it's a good point, Joe. I mean, we're all sort of at the mercy of the changes that happen. That update may have been Facebook's response to Cambridge Analytics, which was kind of like on the back end of that GDPR stuff I was talking about. So they have made changes, and all these platforms change all the time. What we have is, like when I was talking about Amazon with the seat, we're in Facebook's ad manager. We have a Facebook rep. So when those changes come to us before, hey, look, here's how you're going to have to set these campaigns up in the future to be successful. Be prepared for this. This is going to be our algorithmic change, and they'll never tell you what's in the science behind it. But you bring up a valid point about Facebook. It is a very content-rich platform. You have to be testing instead of multivariate testing, different line items of campaigns. What you're really doing there is you're multivariate testing creative. So you have to look at an audience, and you have to understand, is the audience tired of my ad? They've seen the same ad over and over again. Are they tired of that ad, or is the audience exhausted with my product? They don't want it anymore and they have to go somewhere else. But typically what we're doing in Facebook is a lot of creative swapping. So we'll creative swap 15 different pieces of creative in a 2-week period for some of our clients.
Okay. So with AdWords, the campaigns, you could have 1,000 plus potentially, maybe up to 6,000. With Facebook, it's more about the creative and testing 15 different creatives over a 2-week period.
Yeah.
Is that right? And then you'll continue to test that and swap it out, just continually monitoring the click rate and conversion rate.
That's right.
New ads. What about video in Facebook? Is that something you're doing and recommend?
Yeah, carousel ads are working really well. There's a video component in there, but we're seeing great conversion off of short video. And on the creative front, you have to have high quality images, and the videos don't have to be very long. 3 to 6 seconds. Typically in there. Yeah,
I think the quality, the audience gets, because that's the number one thing in terms of their own website and
sure.
The Amazon seller accounts is top quality photos. So that should be the first thing. All right, so we talked about Google AdWords, we talked about Facebook. Any other thoughts in terms of you're sitting down with somebody having a drink and what they should look at if they're running a e-commerce paid advertising campaign?
Yeah, I mean, I think, on the paid advertising side, you just have to keep exploring the platforms. Pinterest has gotten really good. If you know how to use that platform, it's becoming a very good conversion platform. And it's interesting, when you start to see these new platforms come out, typically because they're new, there's not a lot of competition there. So if you can, it's kind of a land grab. It's kind of like what Facebook did to Google. You know, Facebook was the new platform. They finally got their ads manager to work properly, and power editor is what they call it. And people have done really, really well. Same thing's happening with Pinterest now. They've got their advertising technology and algorithms starting to do really well in the back end of collecting data and saying, oh, this person who bought this is also buying this and they look alike, kind of thing. So Pinterest is becoming a CPA platform.
Okay.
So that's
we're
a good
looking
one to look at.
AdWords, Facebook, Pinterest. And when we say AdWords, when we say that, we're talking about Google content searches plus I assume we're talking about YouTube looped in there as well.
Yeah, YouTube's very tough in terms of direct conversion. What
Okay.
you have to do on YouTube is you use YouTube as a mid-funnel driver to your branded keyword search. So I know that sounds challenging, but you're creating an awareness campaign, but you're looking at how that's driving, cheap CPA in AdWords because it's your brand word, and that's cost less than, say, some generic term that like gloves or something like that, whatever you're selling.
Okay.
So
yeah. When you work with a client, you work on obviously you've got a budget, but you work on goal setting with either cost per lead or cost per acquisition, things of that nature. My point is that I know that when I was in, the audience's shoes listening, thinking about hiring someone, that I was worried that they were going to blow up my budget.
Oh yeah.
Acquisition. But you work with them on all those goals as well.
Oh, absolutely. And everybody's logged in. We're typically buying on your account, so nothing's getting taken out of there. And again, like everything starts with that audit. But back to your point about, I think what entrepreneurs do is they need that margin or spread to be really high to afford the inventory. And what we've rolled out with Dave and some of the other entrepreneurs here is we wouldn't want to help you with that. So we'll partner with you so that you can take a little bit more risk on the advertising side. And we talked about this a little bit before the show, and it's what I talked to Jason about.
Yeah, let me just jump in and get to the point so people understand.
Yeah.
Part of the biggest problem that a bootstrapped physical products company has is amazing growth and lack of capital to buy more inventory. They're growing at 100%, month over month, year over year, and they're taking all of that working capital and putting it right back in inventory and just trying to keep up. And when I do, or anybody at QuietLight does a evaluation for that business, we talk about planning. One of the simplest things to be more profitable is just don't run out of inventory. But it's kind of hard because they run out of money and can't keep up with that growth. So what you're talking about is as an agency, as a firm, as a partner, you're willing to work with them and lend them money to buy that inventory.
That's right. When we went from $80 to $16 CPL, we broke our partners' logistics. That I can sum up what you're talking about in just amazing growth. We had the same problem. So you don't have enough capital. No bank's going to give you a decent loan. Your business is too young in the first 3 years, and so we recognize that. We're able to look at your advertising, and we will tell you what we can do on the execution side. But we have to make sure that you have the logistics down and the inventory to go take those risks, and we want to take those risks with you. So our goal is to grow your business as big as you possibly can. So, that's the goal. That's how we make money.
It's funny. It's not all that different from QuietLight. We're here to help, right? We have sometimes that stigma of, oh, you're a broker, and that was the hardest thing for me, going from a entrepreneur, owning my own business to an entrepreneur that's a broker advisor, is that those entrepreneurs, they say, I never want to sell my business. I don't want to talk to you, or I don't want you to talk me into something. But we are here to help and help you grow your business and build that relationship so that when you plan to sell, you'll exit, and you'll exit well.
That's right.
And what you're doing is the same thing. Is you're helping more than anything else. And of course, you're a business trying to make a living too, and obviously doing it very well. But you're going to do the audit for free. You're going to do the test for free.
Yeah.
And then you're going to dramatically reduce that cost per acquisition, or cost per lead, whatever the case might be, and what the parameters are that you set with the client.
That's right.
And they're going to have a problem, which is dramatic growth, and they're not going to be able to keep up with the inventory. They probably already can't keep up with the inventory purchases.
Right.
And you're going to be there to help fund the inventory purchases and keep the business growing, which allows you,
that's right,
to spend more money on their behalf at a great cost per lead, great cost per acquisition, and make more money for yourself along the way as well.
Yeah. When we started our company, we did it on American Express and Google Adwords, right? Buying YouTube. And it hit your credit card every $700. So, I feel your pain that you were feeling, and we get it, and it's real. Growth is tough to manage, very tough to manage. So, for me, I like to consider myself sort of a scaling expert, and whether that be bodies and locations or sales, I'm good at that. And then there are people here that are just good at building a brand from scratch, selling it for hundreds of millions now.
That's amazing that you've got that kind of talent that is choosing to work with you. Just have a great working environment for these folks. Look, I never have to work again for the rest of my life, but you're making it fun, and we're changing people's lives. So let's go ahead.
Well, and think about it. I mean, it's exciting. I mean, right? You're in this business because you get to meet really interesting other entrepreneurs, and they all bring something interesting to the table. They've taken that plunge. We've all been in that battle together, and this is a new sort of idea. Like, who's doing this? So,
great.
It's going to be fun. We're really excited about it, and happy to bring it to the market.
Good. Listen, man, I want to end it here simply because people should be reaching out to you. At the very least, they're going to learn something in the review process. They're going to learn, at the very least, what they're screwing up on, what they're doing wrong, and what they can do. Choose to do it themselves, or
if they want, that's right.
Have you tested and proved that you can do it better than they can, and then they can free themselves up for other things as well, like additional product development and clean documentation on their financials. Do I say that in every podcast episode? Hire a good
That's right.
I won't preach. They've heard me preach before. Patrick, listen, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for taking time out of your day. I know you're very busy. We'll go ahead and get this produced, get it out to folks, and share it with you as well, so you can share it with your team.
Joe, thanks for having me.
It's great, man. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, let's take care.